This is a story called The Little Monsters at Christmas, Chapter 13. The kids raise money for the Children's Hospital at Christmas. It's only a few weeks until Christmas, and the kids are trying to think of something special to do for someone special, but they've only come to a dead end. Then Stumpy had an idea. I know, guys, we could go carol singing to raise money for the Children's Hospital, so the sick kids can have presents to open at Christmas too. Everyone thought that this was a really good idea, and they started straight away. They went door to door singing Christmas carols, and they sang their version of the songs and the real version. Every house they went to, they explained that they were raising money for the Children's Hospital so that the kids could have presents to open on Christmas morning. That first day they only managed to go to 3 houses because it was quite late in the day and they had to be in by 7 p.m. When they told their parents what they were doing, they gave them permission to stay out until 8 p.m. every night, seeing as how they'd broken up from school for Christmas. Their parents gave them £20 each to give to their collection. The next day, with permission from their parents, they all went into town for a bit. However, they didn't stay long because it started snowing and they were scared it might turn into a blizzard and they'd get lost in traps again. They went to the shopping centre that was about 15 minutes away from where they lived. When they got there, they told the manager that they were raising money for the Children's Hospital. She gave them permission to sing and £50 to add to their collection. They stayed at that shopping centre for a couple of hours and then they had lunch. After lunch they went to the shopping centre that was about 5 minutes away from Kicker's house. Again they asked the manager if they could sing and explained that they were raising money for the Children's Hospital. The manager gave them permission to sing and she also gave them £50 to add to their collection. The kids stayed there for a couple of hours and then they went back to Kicker's house for tea. After tea they went back to the shopping centre and did some more carol singing and then they went door to door. That day they raised £200 with the help of their parents and the shopping centre managers. However, for a few days they couldn't go anywhere because of the weather, and if it turned into a blizzard their parents didn't want them getting trapped and lost again. After 3 days the weather had calmed down and the kids were able to go carol singing again. They went round the local shopping centres again and then they went door to door. Of course they played tricks on those who didn't give them anything. They put stink bombs through their letterboxes and fart and burp sweets too. The next day they went out carol singing again. This time they were able to stay out longer because the sun was shining and the snow had stopped. That day alone they raised over £200. The next day the snow had almost gone, so they went into town. They spent the day there and they managed to raise £400, including donations from some of the shops. The following day the kids were in town carol singing again when someone who had been busking gave them half of the money they'd earned. As she did so, another busker came up to them and gave them some of the money he'd earned. Altogether that day, about 6 buskers came over to them and gave them some of the money they'd earned. A couple of days later the kids were carol singing in town when a news crew approached them. One of them said to the kids, "I believe you kids are raising money for the Children's Hospital. Can you tell us how much you kids have raised so far, please?" Once the kids overcame their initial shock, Kicker said, "So far we have raised £750 and we're not finished yet." By this time a crowd had gathered and they cheered and gave the kids a round of applause. Quite a lot of them donated money, even the news crew. Once the news crew had gone, the kids went home and told their parents what had happened that day. When they put their TV on, they were on the 6 o'clock news. The next day they went back into town and again the news crew were there and they filmed the kids singing. A crowd gathered and everyone donated money and some people gave them toys to donate to the children's hospital. Every day after that the news crew followed them and every time a crowd gathered and people gave them money and toys for the children's hospital. They continued carol singing for 3 more days and then they counted all the money they'd raised. Altogether they'd raised £7,000 and their parents and the news crew went with them to the hospital. When the kids gave the staff the cheque and the toys, they couldn't believe it. They were overwhelmed with the kids' generosity. However, the kids weren't finished yet because they went back out carol singing. Every penny they earned, they gave it to the children's hospital. And using their own money, they bought toys for the children's hospital. The news crew followed them, and so did the crowd, and they kept going even when it was bitter cold. They just kept going. They said that they weren't going to stop until they'd raised at least another £7,000. For another week they performed everywhere they could as often as they could. When they'd finished, they'd raised a further £10,000 to donate to the children's hospital. Some people also gave them toys for the children's hospital. When the kids went to the hospital, they could see that the staff were struggling to get everything ready in time for Christmas, so they stayed and helped. Every day they went back to the hospital and helped the staff as much as they could. Then they got a phone call saying that the man who was supposed to be Santa Claus was too sick to do it. Kika rang her dad and he agreed to do it. The news crew got everything on camera and every night they were all on the 6 o'clock news. A few days before Christmas the kids were invited into the news studio along with their parents. The kids told their story and then they sang some carols. When they'd finished they were each given a sack full of presents and presents that were too big to fit in the sacks. Then they were each given a £300 voucher to spend in any shop. They spent the vouchers on clothes and toys for themselves and they knew that they were going to be having a secret Santa. Of course they couldn't buy presents for each other because otherwise it wouldn't be a secret. Each of them went out individually and bought presents for each other. Of course they bought jokesters for each other because they love playing pranks on each other and other people. That's why they were known as the Little Monsters. The end. Thanks for watching guys. Merry Christmas. Bye.